A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. These words are almost synonymous with the Star Wars franchise, and for good reason, as they open every Star Wars movie, television episode, book, and video game. Star Wars has often inspired the imaginations of both young and old, with its once-in-a-lifetime characters, revolutionary special effects, and compelling story. Since its inception in 1977, the Star Wars story has grown to incorporate a vast expanded universe. However, with the Disney acquisition, the focus has been tightened to just the movies, which are treasures in their own right. My name is Trevor Slonick, and together with Marcus Pacell, Josh Dunn, and Tobin Brown, we will explore what goes into the making of these pieces of cinematic history. We will take a look at the production, special effects, writing, and marketing in each of the three trilogies. The original trilogy released from 1977 to 1983, the prequels released from 1999 to 2005, and the new trilogy released from 2015 to 2019. Now I will turn it over to Marcus to talk about the original trilogy.
Thanks, Trevor. Some of you might find it hard to believe that a franchise with such popularity and clout today started out with little to no support. George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars, in 1971 had a two-part contract with Universal Studios to create American Graffiti and Star Wars. However, later, Universal Studios backed out of the Star Wars film. It wasn't until 20th Century Fox picked up Star Wars after the revision of the script and the success of American Graffiti that it became a reality. The film took 4 years to film and included shots from Tunisia and Death Valley, California. The cast was relatively unknown, and Lucas used his own lighting company, Industrial Light and Magic, to do most of the special effects. On May 25th, 1977, Star Wars released to only 42 theaters. It was thought to be a B-track film that was only included in bundles with other A-track films. One of the buyers, Eric Lomas, who's now a head of distribution at Weinstein Company, reflects on the event in an interview with Hollywood Reporter in December 9th of last year, saying, "In the month before it opened, a lot of the older guys thought of Star Wars as a kiddie movie. The cast meant nothing, and no one knew who George Lucas was. We thought we got hosed because the competition got the big A-track picture, The Other Side of Midnight." However, the movie was very successful, and the movie ended up staying in theaters for over a year. Thanks to the success of the movie, Lucas got started on a sequel. He brought in science fiction author Leigh Brackett to help with the script writing. After the first draft in 1978, Brackett died of cancer. The next draft would be created by Lucas. After a couple more revisions, Lucas decided that it would be a trilogy, and he added in the twist of Vader being Luke's father and Han Solo's carbonite as twins. And so, as part of the trilogy, he changed the title from Episode 2 to Episode 5. And he later explained in the 1994 reissue of Flitter of Mind's Eye that it wasn't long until after I started writing Star Wars that I realized the story was more than a single film could hold. As the saga of the Skywalkers and Jedi Knights unfolded, I began to see it as a tale that could take at least 9 films to tell, 3 trilogies. And I realized, in making my way through the backstory and afterstory, that I was really setting out to write the middle story. The Empire Strikes Back was released in 1980, and Return of Jedi was released in 1983. Despite their major successes, it was tough making The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. The Empire Strikes Back specifically went way over budget and could only be completed through the earnings of Star Wars toys. Lucas had enough of the stress and was facing struggles with his personal life, and he actually vowed he was done with the series in a May 1983 interview with the Time magazine. As we all know, the prequels eventually did happen, but it took quite a few years. I'll hand things over to Josh now to talk more about the prequels.
Thanks, Marcus. Now we'll be talking about the prequel trilogy that began in 1999 with The Phantom Menace, 16 years after the release of Return of the Jedi. During production of the original trilogy, George Lucas had created a plan to release a sequel trilogy, but in 1987, he was caught up in a divorce lawsuit that cost him a large portion of his assets, and he lost a desire to make more Star Wars films. However, as time progressed and technology advanced, he decided he would make a prequel trilogy, especially intrigued by new digital effects such as computer-generated imagery, or CGI. The biggest difference between the production of the original and prequel trilogies came down to the influence Lucas had on the projects. By the time he started working on the prequels, the Star Wars franchise was well known and highly regarded. He took full creative control of every aspect of these movies. He alone brainstormed and wrote screenplays for all three movies, which were called The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. Another writer was brought in to polish the scripts, but did not make any significant changes to the plot. This led to storylines that bored the audiences, like drawn-out political issues, and characters that viewers hated, like Jar Jar Binks. Lucas also put an emphasis on exploring new parts of the galaxy, like the planets Coruscant and Naboo. In fact, the only place reused in the prequel trilogy was Tatooine, home of both Luke and Anakin Skywalker. For filming, the primary shooting location was a studio in England. Instead of using real locations, Lucas preferred shooting in a green screen studio to match his vision of different exotic planets. Even when real locations were used, they were heavily modified using CGI. In fact, according to Richard Corliss, a reporter for Time magazine, The Phantom Menace has around 1,950 shots with special effects, out of a total of 2,200 shots. This is in contrast to a typical summer blockbuster that will usually only have around 250 effect shots. These conditions made it hard for the actors to immerse themselves in the scene, hurting their overall performances. Despite its questionable quality, fans of the franchise had been waiting 16 years for another movie, and Lucasfilm did a great job marketing the films. First teaser for Episode 1 was a poster that showed Anakin casting Darth Vader's shadow. This was well received by excited fans, and 3 days later, the first teaser trailer was released. Many fans were buying unrelated movie tickets just to watch the trailer, to the point that theaters started showing the trailer before and after every single movie show. For all three movies, deals were made for action figures and Lego sets for the new characters and settings. Now Tobin will talk a little bit about the new sequel trilogy.
Thanks, Josh. The new trilogy, or sequel trilogy, was announced shortly after Disney acquired Lucasfilm in 2012. Unlike the previous two trilogies, Lucas was not involved in the production whatsoever. He gave his ideas for the trilogy to Disney, but later revealed that all the ideas were scrapped. Writer and director J.J. Abrams stated that the film needed to take a couple of steps backwards into very familiar terrain in order to win back the fan base after the less than ideal prequel trilogy. Also, the new trilogy will be released in rapid succession. The new movies are to come out every 2 years instead of the prequel's 3 years. The writings of the film is this time being done by many writers instead of just George Lucas, like the prequels. George is still on hand to help flesh out the intricacies of the Star Wars universe, but the script writing is no longer in his hands. J.J. Abrams and Lawrence Kasdan took on the role of writing the script for Episode 7, and after working for months, the script was completed on January 2014. One of the great things about the new trilogy that is very evident in Episode 7, The Force Awakens, is the return to practical effects. Practical effects were a huge part of the original trilogy due to low budgets of the original films and the lack of CGI, advanced CGI. Abrams made it one of his goals to use as many practical effects as possible to recapture the magic of the original trilogy. The new films will feature little CGI, and almost all of the characters, including droids, are fully costumed and even robotic. Marketing has been hugely increased for this new trilogy, as Disney has taken over the franchise. They made it one of their goals to merchandise as much as possible. In addition to the typical action figures and Lego sets, you could see their marketing even going into produce. There were Yoda-branded grapes and BB-8 branded oranges released in grocery stores, and also character-shaped bottles of coffee creamer. The intense amount of merchandising and marketing really paid off in Star Wars: The Force Awakens, which now holds pretty much every box office record, including the all-time highest grossing film in the United States, where it has brought in over $900 million. And now, I'll hand it over to Trevor to wrap up our presentation.
Thanks, Tobin. Today we have discussed the production, special effects, story writing, and marketing in each of the Star Wars trilogies that make up such a wonderful and compelling story. You can see that as times have evolved, so have the ways the filmmakers crafted their characters and heart-pounding battles that make Star Wars so great. Thank you for listening to us rant about our favorite movie saga, and may the Force be with you.